Hello folks, welcome back to the show. Before we get into today's episode, let's look at a few news headlines this week. In Britain, the Prime Minister has issued a bizarre call on George Lucas to make a new erotic Star Wars sequel.
The return of the sausages.
The Archbishop of Canterbury makes the mistake of looking at last night's drunken WhatsApp messages at the altar.
Oh God.
And questions are already being asked about the viability of the new non-gendered rugby league. Hello folks, welcome back to the show. So today I'm going to give you my hot takes, 5 brutal truths that go against some of the received wisdom that you may have heard about fragrances and the fragrance community. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Before we do that, please remember my recommended USA-based fragrance sampling site is the Fragrance Decant Boutique. That's decantboutique.com. Please use my code MrSmelly10. That gets you 10% off across an enormous range of designer and niche fragrances. If you're in the UK, my recommended UK-based fragrance sampling site is fragrancesamplesuk.com, a site I've used for many years as a very happy paying customer. And my code there is SMELLY10, SMELLY10 for 10% off across their amazing, huge array of designer and niche fragrances. Both sites linked in the description of the video. Okay, hot takes for you then. I'd love to hear your opinion on these. If you just disagree with me, that's fine. It's fun sometimes to step away from just lists of fragrances in the video. On the subject of fragrances, though, please don't forget, we are still running our amazing launch price for Arezzo. This is a fantastic new release from our brand, Norton & Wilson. It's our most decadent, yet refined fragrance yet. It has this luxurious air about it, but it does have this nuance of decadence because we've got boozy notes, we've got tobacco in there. In fact, the notes include brandy, tobacco, labdanum, orris butter, real Cambodian oud, and plum. It really is something very, very special, and if you've had any of our other fragrances and enjoyed them, I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy this one. Also, we have one other fantastic offer going on there. Gravitas Pour Homme, our original amazing aromatic fougere, which is something of a smudge magnet, unfortunately. He's currently 30% off on the site, as is the amazing, and don't sleep on this one, far more comfortable to sleep on a mattress, Gravitas Essentia, also 30% off, and this one adds to the original formula notes of mint, artemisia, and basil. It just gives it this extra, it kind of elevates the citrus and green elements, and it really is like, it's like Gravitas Sports. I was actually wearing this week. It's stunning, so don't miss out. And there's a bundle deal if you get both of them. The price is insane. It's what is it? I think it's £120 or $150 for both, which is just incredible. Okay, forgive me for that. Let's move on. Hot takes. Let's go. Okay, number 1, seasons. Fragrances are appropriate for certain seasons. You should wear fresh fragrances in the spring and summertime, and you want to wear your heavier, more rich fragrances in the winter and fall. Not really. My hot take is I think that's really a bit of a lie. It's really been overpushed in the fragrance community, and maybe particularly in the YouTube world, because people want to make a list about best summer fragrances, best spring. What on earth is the difference between what you should wear in spring and summer, and best winter and autumn, again fall, winter? Really, what's the difference? Depends where you are in the world anyway. Anyhow, my take on this is very, very simple. There's absolutely no reason in the world why you can't wear a beautiful, fresh fragrance in the wintertime. Yeah, it doesn't have... I wear Gravitas Essentia here. It's the middle of December. It's really cold. I love wearing Gravitas Essentia. It's a beautiful, fresh, aromatic fougere fragrance, and it works absolutely great. There's no reason you can't smell fresh and clean in the wintertime. In the summertime, those kind of fragrances, the transparent, clear ones like the Neroli fragrances or some of your Acqua di Parma, I get that they can be a nice antidote to a feeling of being a little bit clammy or overheated, and they're refreshing. So maybe there's some nuance of truth that you perhaps don't necessarily want to wear a heavy oud fragrance or a really leathery fragrance or a gourmand when it's really hot outside. I guess. But to be honest, a lot of people do. In the Middle East, where oud originates, people, of course, it was hot all the time nearly. So it's clearly not really true, this myth. So you can wear whatever you want, whenever you want, certainly in the evening if I'm on holiday in a hot country or something. No problem for me to wear a fragrance that some people might categorise stereotypically as more cold weather appropriate, like the note listing for Arezzo. Oh, well, that's a winter autumn fragrance. Well, it could be, but I definitely take that on holiday in June to the Canary Islands and wear it in the evening. No problem at all. That's my hot take. What do you think about that one? Number 2. My hot take is Fragcomm. The fragrance community is not dead. Lots of people always say it used to be so much better 10 years ago or 5 years ago, whenever they came into it usually, and there's no such thing as a fragrance community anymore. Well, all that's happened is it's evolved. So you get people who maybe had channels that were big successes 10 years ago, and they'll be on their channel lamenting, oh, then there was only a small core of us, and we weren't being sent free, and we weren't working with companies, and we used to send little samples back to each other, and it was all much more honest and organic. And there is an element of truth to that. But my point is this: there are just more and more people involved in the online world of fragrances worldwide now than there were 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So there's just more diversity. If you want to watch a channel where the person has paid for and bought all the fragrances themselves, as I have the vast majority of mine, but there are smaller channels, and channels where they really have a very specific taste in niche fragrances, and they are absolutely not enthralled to anybody at all to say anything other than what they really think. There are loads of those channels. You might have to search a little bit down the list of fragrance channel suggestions, more so than you would 10 years ago, to find those people, but there are absolutely tons of those people. And if you want to watch slightly more polished and slick videos now, if you've just got into the hobby, well, we have those really professionally made videos from people who, of course, have been sent stuff free, etc., but present things in a punchy way that is more in keeping with the other content maybe that you flick through on your YouTube, rather than sort of very grainy bedroom dwelling type videos that were sort of the norm 10 or 15 years ago. So I think the fragrance community is still very much a thing. You can have all kinds of little Facebook groups that you're in, or chat groups, and people that you can hook up with around the world and find your little niche, your little bit of it that you really enjoy. So the idea that it's died because of the commercialization of the YouTube channels and stuff, I don't agree. I think there's just more diversity. What do you think about that? Let me know down below. Next one up then is going to be no fragrance sucks. We often hear people complaining that they bought this on such and such a reviewer's advice, or just reviewing a fragrance that they bought, a new release from a big brand. They've been excited and they say, so disappointed, this fragrance sucks, it really is a mess, or it's just such a disappointment. And of course, you may like a fragrance more or less, but fragrances to me are a bit like ice cream. It's pretty damn hard to get it wrong, okay? You can buy a really cheap, relatively low quality ice cream from your local, the own brand supermarket one, grab that out of the freezer, and it still tastes pretty darn nice to me. A vanilla or strawberry ice cream from my local Asda still tastes good. Yes, you can go to the gelato place down the road and pay quite a lot more maybe, and it does have maybe a nicer texture and more flavour, and it's better. But really, none of the fragrances I ever try, or very rarely do I think, oh my god, that sucks. I don't happen to love Invictus and stuff like that, or that robot one from Paco Rabanne that much, or 1 Million and its flankers, but they don't suck, they don't smell disgusting. I just like other ones even more. So the idea that some fragrances, people really trash fragrances. Jeremy Fragrance released a fragrance, Office, and loads of others, and people said it was trash and gob. It was a very good fragrance made by Alberto Marias. It wasn't something I'd massively rush out to wear and buy myself, but it was a good fragrance. It did smell good. I prefer other things, but it smelled good. I don't think any fragrance sucks. It's like ice cream. It's like pizza. It's really hard to get it wrong. A beautiful Italian pizza fresh from a wood oven, wonderful. But even the oven pizza frozen that I buy from my supermarket, it doesn't suck. It doesn't suck. I'm sorry. Okay, next one. So those 3 hot takes. Next one, influencers, in my opinion, on YouTube, they're not shills or they're not con artists. That's what I honestly think. People imply sometimes in comments and conversations around the fragrance community and our world of fragrances that a lot of the big influencers are kind of almost corrupt. They're lying. They're plugging fragrances that they actually think are garbage just because they've been sent them free, and perhaps they get an affiliate link and or being even paid to just make a complimentary review about things. Probably those things do go on. I just don't think that it's any kind of terrible moral crime that's been committed here. Again, in connection with the last point, if an influencer describes a fragrance, and they normally do describe them accurately, here are the notes: you can smell toffee, you can smell bergamot, you can smell sandalwood, and then says they really like it, they probably genuinely do really like it. They might exaggerate how much they like it a bit, but if you're not savvy enough to realise that's the way of the world, you're just living in a fantasy world where you want things to be different from that. There are other reviewers who maybe, mostly like me, are only picking out mostly, not always, fragrances that they've bought for themselves and sharing those with you. Might say the odd negative thing about some, but to be honest with you, these people they're not terrible people, and in their own minds you might think, how can they live with themselves because they're lying? I don't think they feel that they are lying. They genuinely enjoy doing this job, and it's better than a day job of going to the office for many of them, and they're sharing these fragrances, and they do get sent stuff free, and it all smells pretty good, and they're just describing the ways in which it smells good. Let me know. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here. If you disagree completely with me, try not to unsubscribe. It's just, I'm putting it out there. I want your comments. I want people who disagree to comment down below. If you enjoy this video, please do subscribe, by the way. Last but not least, I'm going to go and might get in trouble here. I think fragrances sort of do have a gender, or do tend to lean more masculine and feminine. I completely agree. Anyone can wear anything they like. I have fragrances marketed towards women that I wear, and of course, if a lady wants to wear a men's fragrance, absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with that, okay? So don't care, men can wear makeup if they want. All of those earrings, that's all fine. I don't mind, but some fragrances inherently, in their smell, according to the sort of socialized way that we've been brought up, the culture that we live in, will suggest masculinity more than others. So Gravitas Prom by Norton & Wilson totally can be worn by a woman, but it smells, most people would say, a kind of a masculine smell. One of my other favourites, Milano Sento Him, love this one. It's got him in the name. I'm sure a woman could smell absolutely great with this, but it has the kind of aromatic fougere, soapy, green, fern-like, quite complex in this case, smell that we generally associate with a masculine fragrance, whereas other fragrances with notes that are more floral or sweet and fruity, we tend to associate that with women, and that's just the way of the world. Let's think of any fragrance note, and you tell me as we do this along with me. Is it, in your mind, more masculine or feminine? Let's go for it. Oak moss. I would say probably masculine, although it can be in many, many women's fragrances. Leather. I would say that's probably a masculine type note, right? Tobacco. Masculine, rightly or wrongly, I think, but there are women's fragrances with tobacco in them. Let's try some other ones. Rose, feminine. Jasmine, feminine. All the floral ones, feminine. I mean, yeah, maybe it's silly. Bergamot, kind of neutral, neither. But most things out there, let's do ice cream. Strawberry ice cream, that's more feminine. What ice cream should a man eat? Well, chocolate would be more normal. If a man eats strawberry ice cream, that's completely fine, but it's more of a feminine taste. I don't know why. I'm just saying, I think it's okay to say that, not any kind of political statement about any other wider issues. Let me know what you think about these hot takes, the brutal truth about fragrances from Mr. Smelly 1977. I'll see you in the next video. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. And although life may stink, at least we can always smell good. Don't forget that amazing offer too for Gravitas and/or Gravitas Essentia. The bundle is even better than 30% off. NortonandWilson.com. See you next time. Bye-bye.